I am a firm believer, Dave, that our ability to win in life is inextricably linked to the extent of our ability to create winning opportunities for others. And that's a little bit of a mouthful, but you know, I can't say it any simpler than that. Our ability to win is tied to others winning. And the kind of winning that we're talking about, unlike athletic competition, there doesn't have to be a loser on the other side of each of our successes.
So this week we're talking about winning by lifting others up.
As Steve Harvey says all the time when Family Feud comes on, this is going to be a good one. But your point is that we think that all of these are good ones.
That's right. That's right. I need to work on some of those Steve Harvey facial expressions.
He's got them, doesn't he?
He's pretty much the best when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
So at least from popular culture, I think probably a great example of winning by lifting others up is the 2009 movie called The Blind Side.
The Blind Side, one of my favorites.
Yeah. And from what I've read, there were some liberties taken in the story, as they always do with Hollywood. But it's a true story of a family adopting a homeless young man who later becomes a first-round draft pick in the NFL and extremely successful. So, basically winning by lifting him up, and he won in the process as well. That's an exceptional scenario that doesn't come along every day. And so I like this quote that I found from a woman named Sally Koch. And she said, great opportunities to help others seldom come, but small ones surround us every day. So a kind word to a clerk, or holding the door for somebody who seems to need help. Those kind of small opportunities are with us, on a daily basis.
Yep. Well, I loved The Blind Side. I thought Sandra Bullock did an excellent job in portraying that role, and what a monumental effect it had. And here again, let's keep in mind, not just for that gentleman, but for all of the people that he will have an opportunity to touch as well. I am a firm believer, Dave, that our ability to win in life is inextricably linked to the extent of our ability to create winning opportunities for others. And that's a little bit of a mouthful, but I can't say it any simpler than that. Our ability to win is tied to others winning. And the kind of winning that we're talking about, unlike athletic competition, there doesn't have to be a loser on the other side of each of our successes. Don't you just love that?
Absolutely.
It's just beautiful to me. If I had to think of one actionable example that kind of stands out to me, when I started work at Coca-Cola, the gentleman from one of our plants about 45 miles away came to orientate me. This was the first time that a Black person had ever been in the department, let alone having been promoted to advertising manager. Well, this advertising manager, white gentleman, came to orientate me, and he'd come in, drive the distance for about 3 to 4 weeks until we kind of meshed. Well, after our department grew, and I think you know me well enough to know that I don't just do things ordinarily. We had about 3 people when I started, and I had grown the department now to 8 people, and we were moving. We had picked a fight with Pepsi, and we were right in the middle of what we call Cola War. I had picked the fight, and we didn't care, or I didn't care whether we sold Coca-Colas at that location or not. If it posed a great location for a Coca-Cola sign, we went for it. And so, of course, Pepsi reacted. Well, about 6 years after that, the gentleman who orientated me, the company was discontinuing sign painting in that facility. And this gentleman was given a choice. He could either take early retirement, he could drive a route truck, or he could drive 45 miles and report to me. Now, that's a tough decision by any stretch of anyone's imagination. I knew that he didn't want to retire. He was way too young. I knew that he didn't want to drive a route truck, and he certainly had way too much talent to do otherwise. So I found a way to invite my wife and my son to visit with his family. Had a lake house, and it was a great day of fishing and swimming, and just had a wonderful time. And when the opportunity was right, I made an appeal to him. I said that I don't have a management position for you, but I'd love to have your talent in Birmingham. We're right in the middle of this Cola War. I'd love it if you would consider coming. He didn't give me an answer today, that day, but his wife did pull me aside to say, thank you so much for interceding. So subsequently, as the story goes, within a week or two, he decided that he would take that offer. He came in. We worked very well together. We think that we won the Cola Wars. And as my career continued to progress, he went on to become advertising manager in my stead. So in my mind, that was a story, I think, Dave, that ended well. I could have taken the position that doesn't matter to me, decide to do what you want. But creating that winning opportunity for Chester and his family was huge for me, because that's what we are here for. Chester came and went on, and about maybe 4 years ago, just retired with a successful career at Coca-Cola. It was a win for everybody. The entire mantra of our institution is, why not win? Institute, work hard, relate hard. And by just taking the high road and interjecting me, very much like Ms. Nichols did, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. To make a difference in the life and in the lives and in the families of others.
Well, it's a great example, and it seems like in some ways you two lifted each other up at different times, right? He Absolutely. Was extremely helpful to you when you first got started, and then you were able to pay that kindness back down the road. Yep. And it's a great illustration of how, even if you don't do it out of the kindness of your heart, you should try to be good to everybody, because you may need that person down the road.
Yep. It was Earl Nightingale who said, treat everyone you meet as if he or she were the most important person on earth. Isn't that a beautiful philosophy? Treat everyone you meet as if they were the most important person on earth. And he says that you do that for 3 reasons. One, it is because to every person that you meet, Dave, they are in fact the most important person on earth. Number 2, that's the way human beings ought to treat each other. And number 3, you initiate this character building theme within yourself that makes all of the difference in the world to your future success. I think it's something that we should all take to heart.
I can give you an example that you might find interesting, where I gave somebody a helping hand, and then that ended up coming back and benefiting me years later. So when I was at Florida State, I was teaching in the part-time MBA program, and I taught the last class in the program right before they graduated. And I had a student who was not on track to get an A, but he needed an A in order to graduate. So now we have a dilemma, and how are we going to find our way out of this? So I said to him, let me think about it, because I can't just break the rules for you,
Yeah.
but I'll see if I can think of something. So as it turned out, part of the grading in the class was group participation. They all had group projects and they graded each other, and that got reflected in the grade. So I went back to him and I said, I've figured out that just based on the numbers, everybody in your group can get no credit for group participation, and they're still going to get A's. Meanwhile, if you get all of their points, it will lift you up to get an A. So what you need to do is go around to all of your other group members and convince them to give each other zeros and award you all of the points. So he did it. He went around and he convinced them all to do that. And
How
so
creative.
the math ended up getting him an A, and he was able to graduate. So a couple of years later, he calls me up. He's working for a major defense contractor. And he said, my company is going to put in a bid for a 10-year, $11.2 billion contract.
Woo.
I need somebody to help me with the proposal, and I want you to be that person. And I was like, wow, really? Me? He said, yeah, you're the guy I want. And so it ended up being a highlight of my career. I ended up with a 6-figure payday as a result of that. I took some of that money and surprised my wife with a Jeep. We went to Colorado on vacation. When we arrived there was a Jeep waiting for her. She
Awesome.
very much wanted a Jeep at the time. And to even go one step further, a couple years after that, this person hired my brother into a position. Just by thinking creatively about, okay, I don't want to break the rules, but I do want to help this person. What can we figure out? And it helped him. And, he didn't forget that.
Sure. What a great story. And what happens also, Dave, I think, you and I always like to kind of go to the opposite extreme too, of the negative effects of not lifting someone up. And this particular story comes to mind of this young Black male who told the story of his grandfather, who was a Black Panther member and had taught him all of his life to reject white people, that they were evil and that there was no good, and just this broad brush effect. And he grew up with this understanding. And he tells the story about their car having broken down on the side of the road one night. And this white gentleman stopped to help them repair the car and to get them back to town. And thank God, this is what should happen when we see actionable reasons to augment what we think. And he said that my grandfather told me that, son, I was wrong, and I've been wrong, and I have taught you wrong all of these years. And I thought, how cool is that when we realize the error of our ways? There's an old Turkish proverb that goes like this: it doesn't matter how far down the wrong road you've gone, it is never too late to turn back. And how often is it that some of your colleagues and friends and family members and mine will use this old tired cliche and mantra? Well, I've gone this far now, I might as well, wow. And to hear his granddaddy say that, I thought that was just paramount to the future development of this young man. And I was so thankful to have been in the audience to hear that story.
So wonderful for a person to have an epiphany like that and totally change their outlook.
Yep. Dave, let me mention this too. 20 minutes of winning, and I'm in business. You are an eminent scholar, a professor of business at a very renowned university. So people tend to think that we ought to be talking about business stuff, business jargon, economics, finance, and accounting, and all, But winning in life and winning in business, I think, are just about kind of tantamount in nature. They are equaled. And so I want to just kind of remind our listeners that, yes, it's about business, but it's about community. It is about family, and it's about you. And the extent of your ability to win, whether it's in business or whatever, it's all contingent upon your ability to relate and identify and to grow. And when you have those poignant moments, be big enough to augment and change. Change is good. In fact, change is necessary for a wholesome life, I think.
I've actually dredged up some findings from a research study that's really at the intersection between business and life.
Great.
So this is what's called a meta-analysis of 43 studies. It's basically where somebody will take the findings of a set of studies and combine them mathematically to arrive at the answer.
Okay.
You see this a lot in pharmaceuticals, where there will be, 100 studies of, does Vioxx hurt people? They'll combine all those findings, reach the conclusion that it does, and it ends up getting pulled off the market. So this particular study looked at employees without a mentor versus employees with a mentor. So employees who are not being lifted up by somebody versus employees who are being lifted up by somebody. 43 studies on that question combined. What did they find? If you are an employee who has a mentor, you make more money. You earn a greater number of promotions. You feel more satisfied with your career. You feel more committed to your career.
Love it.
And you're more likely to believe that you will advance in your career in the future. All of those things tied to having a mentor lifting you up. So we can also think about the other side from the perspective of being a mentor, being the person who's lifting somebody up. What sort of benefits do those people have? Greater job satisfaction and organizational commitment, greater career success, and maybe most importantly, a higher feeling of work-related fulfillment.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. To our listeners here again, here you are operating essentially at the top of your game. You are published over and over and over again, professional writer, eminent scholar at a very respected university. It doesn't get any better than that on the scholastic side. Here I am, owning 7 restaurants with an art degree, still producing art, by the way, serving on corporate boards. And we're not talking about business jargon. I just can't overstress this stuff enough. It's all about communication skills and honing those skills on a daily basis, relationship skills, watching and the development of demeanor, disposition, deportment. The individual who will master these 5 areas, Dave, I think, and I see it evident in your approach to everything that you do, and I hope that you can see the same with me. We just want to offer this to the listeners. We could very easily be talking about the next restaurant that we're going after, my son and I, or the next 2 or 3, but that's going to take care of itself if we adhere to these life-altering realities that makes a difference, not just in business, but in community, and also create opportunities for others to win as well.
Very well said. We always like to wrap up with a couple of practical tips. And
Yep.
so our first one is to be on the lookout for small opportunities to lift others up.
Wow.
You've
Love
told
it.
me you've told me in the past that you go out of your way to compliment people on, let's say you run into a fellow who has a particularly attractive beard. You'll take a moment to point out to him how great his beard looks and say something to his girlfriend about, hey, you better keep an eye on him. He's probably popular with the ladies.
Did about 2 or 3 of those at the gym today. Try not to miss any opportunities. Here's my favorite one. If you've got this one too, is being at another competitor. And if I see performance, beautiful smile, I'll say something like this, Dave. I'm at Taco Bell, let's say, and I'm saying, wow, you have a beautiful McDonald smile. And so they're giving this kind of a deer in headlight look like, oh, what the hell does that mean? So I said, but they finally get it and they receive it as a compliment. And then I'll say something like, but I just can't understand why you would be wasting a beautiful McDonald's smile like that at a place like this. And then I'll hand a business card. And I can't tell you how many people we've hired. And we train our people to do that, because of simply recognizing people, recognizing individuals. Or as Earl Nightingale says, treat everyone you meet as if they were the most important person on earth.
Well, and you never know who you run into that actually is the most important person on earth.
You got it.
I like the idea of finding something specific to compliment people on too,
Yeah.
whether it's the smile or the color of their eyes or, wow, I love that shirt.
Yep.
It makes people feel so good.
No question about it.
Our second tip is kind of the flip side. Be willing to ask others to lift you up. And I think sometimes people are reluctant to ask others for help. But
We miss a lot of opportunity, wouldn't it?
we absolutely do. And so if there's people out there that have connections that you could leverage or that have skills that you could leverage, be really deliberate about reaching out and asking for help. My experience is most people like being asked and they like contributing and they like giving a helping hand when they can.
No question about it.